Everyone in the check-in line froze when the uniformed pilot was told to step aside. He had his flight bag, his ID, and the calm confidence of someone who had done this job for years. Still, the agent frowned and whispered to a supervisor, saying his credentials looked fake. Passengers began to stare. Phones slipped out of pockets. In that moment, the black pilot realized this wasn't just a delay, it was something deeper, something personal. His voices grew tense. The pilot stayed composed, explaining who he was and which flight he was scheduled to fly. But the doubt lingered in the air. Security was called. A few people shook their heads. Others watched in silence, unsure what to believe. This was supposed to be a routine airline check-in, yet it was turning into a public test of identity, respect, and trust. What no one in that terminal knew was that this incident was about to expose more than a simple mistake. Behind the scenes, someone powerful was already on their way. And when the CEO of the airline unexpectedly walked through those sliding doors, the balance of power shifted instantly. What happened next would leave the entire airport speechless. The pilot stood near the counter, hands steady but jaw tight, as security quietly checked his documents again. He remembered his first day in flight school, the long nights studying, the years of proving himself in the cockpit. Flying wasn't just a job to him, it was his identity. Yet here he was, treated like a question mark in front of strangers who didn't know his story. The airline staff spoke in low voices, glancing at his uniform and then back at their screens. One agent mentioned company policy, another hinted at recent security alerts. None of it fully explained why this moment felt so heavy. Passengers nearby whispered, some clearly uncomfortable, others curious. The airport, usually loud and rushed, seemed to slow down around this single check-in desk. The pilot's phone buzzed with a message from his co-pilot asking why boarding was delayed. He typed a short reply, choosing calm words, even as frustration rose inside him. He knew this delay could affect the flight, the crew, and hundreds of travelers waiting at the gate. Across the terminal, an elevator dinged softly. A small group stepped out, walking with purpose toward the airline offices. No one noticed them yet, but their arrival was about to change everything. The supervisor finally spoke up, asking the pilot to wait by the seating area while they verified a few things. The words sounded polite, but the message was clear. As he walked away from the counter, he felt eyes following him. A flight attendant he recognized from past trips gave him a small, uneasy nod, unsure whether to speak. Nearby, a young passenger quietly told her mother that the pilot looked just like the one she'd seen greeting kids in the cockpit before. Her mother squeezed her hand and said nothing. At the desk, the agents refreshed their screens again and again, scrolling through records that already matched his name, license, and employee number. Still, the doubt didn't fully disappear. In the operations office, managers began to argue about delays and optics. One worried about social media, another insisted they were just being careful. Meanwhile, the gate for the pilot's flight grew crowded. Boarding was pushed back, and frustration spread among travelers with connections to catch. The pilot sat upright, replaying the moment he was stopped. He wondered how often this happened to others and how easily a career could be questioned in seconds. Then, through the glass walls of the terminal, he noticed a familiar face walking closer, someone he had only met once before. During a company safety briefing, the CEO was now on the floor, and the air felt tight with anticipation. The CEO's footsteps echoed across the polished floor, drawing glances from everyone nearby. The pilot rose slowly, instinct telling him that this moment could change everything, though he didn't yet know how. People whispered as the CEO approached, his presence commanding attention without a word. Even the airport staff seemed to pause, unsure whether to intervene or step aside. The supervisor glanced nervously at the CEO, then back at the pilot. Tension crackled in the air like static. The pilot could feel every second stretching, each one heavier than the last. Passengers craned their necks, sensing that something extraordinary was unfolding, though none of them knew the full story. A mother clutched her child's hand tightly, while a teenager recorded the moment discreetly. Phone raised but trembling. The CEO stopped a few feet away, scanning the scene. His gaze lingered on the pilot, calm but unwavering. The terminal seemed to shrink, the murmur of voices fading into a tense silence. Even the security officers straightened. Aware that the authority in the room had just shifted, the pilot swallowed hard. Remembering the countless hours of training, the sacrifices, the skepticism he had faced throughout his career, the questions that had lingered, doubt, mistrust, the judgment of strangers now hung directly in front of him. Then, the CEO spoke, his voice low but clear, cutting through the stillness. Every eye turned, every heart skipped a beat, and for a moment, time itself seemed to hold its breath. The CEO's words hung in the air, sharp and deliberate. But before the pilot could respond, a loud ping from the airline's internal system drew everyone's attention. A new alert flashed across the supervisor's screen, an urgent message flagged from corporate headquarters. The pilot's flight manifest had suddenly been flagged for review, even though everything had been approved hours ago. Whispers rippled through the terminal. Some passengers murmured about delays, but others sensed the tension rising to something far more serious. The pilot felt a chill. He had faced doubts, even discrimination before, but this felt orchestrated. Every glance from the staff now carried suspicion rather than courtesy. Security subtly tightened around the counter, though no one explained why. His phone buzzed again this time, a text from an unknown number. Asterisk, be careful, not everyone here wants you to fly. Asterisk, the CEO, noticing the pilot's unease, gave a subtle nod. But before he could intervene, another twist hit. One of the passengers, a business executive waiting in line, stepped forward and loudly questioned the pilot's credentials, claiming he had seen something off in the online registry. The crowd leaned in, tension surging. The pilot clenched his fists, realizing the situation was spiraling beyond a simple misunderstanding. The terminal felt smaller, every eye on him, every heartbeat echoing louder. The CEO's expression darkened, and the air grew electric with anticipation, leaving everyone wondering what would happen next. The CEO stepped forward, his presence instantly commanding silence. He held up a tablet and tapped it once, bringing the internal alert into full view. The flagged review, a technical glitch. The pilot's credentials were perfect, authentic, verified, and beyond reproach. The supervisor's face flushed as the truth sank in, and murmurs of embarrassment spread through the terminal. Then the CEO turned to the crowd and spoke firmly. This is our pilot. He is cleared and ready to fly. His words cut through the tension like a knife. Passengers exhaled, some applauded softly, and the staff scrambled to correct the mistake. The pilot's shoulders relaxed for the first time that day, though his eyes never left the CEO, silently thanking him for stepping in. Just as it seemed the ordeal was over, the business executive who had questioned him earlier stepped back, smirking, and pulled out a printed news article. Well, maybe he's qualified, but do you know who's really flying this plane today? The crowd leaned in, curiosity piqued. The pilot's heart skipped a beat as the CEO glanced at the paper and then back at him. A brief, knowing smile crossed the CEO's face, leaving everyone on edge. The revelation wasn't what anyone expected, and in that moment, it was clear. This flight would be remembered far beyond just a simple check-in. The pilot took a steady breath as the CEO stepped closer, holding the news article. The room waited, silent. Then the CEO spoke, calmly, but with authority. This pilot isn't just qualified, he's one of our most experienced captains. Today's delay was a mistake, and anyone who doubted him needs to know the truth. The business executive's smirk faltered as the crowd absorbed the statement. Passengers nodded, some murmuring apologies, others shaking their heads in disbelief at the misunderstanding. The pilot finally allowed himself a small smile. He had faced skepticism his whole career, but today was different. Today, respect had won out, and the importance of integrity and fairness was on display for everyone in the terminal. The airline staff corrected the boarding process quickly, and passengers began moving toward the gate, murmuring about what they had just witnessed. As the pilot walked toward the aircraft, the CEO followed, whispering a word of encouragement. The unexpected twist: the pilot would be co-piloting a VIP charter immediately after was a reminder that appearances could be deceiving, and true expertise couldn't be questioned by rumors or assumptions. The crowd dispersed, carrying with them a story of courage, patience, and the power of standing firm in the face of doubt. And for the pilot, it was more than just a flight, it was a lesson in perseverance, respect, and the quiet strength of proving yourself when it matters most.